All right, so for the last part, like I said at the beginning, if you missed one of the talks, but you were really interested in it, but you went to the workshop instead, or you just missed it because you were doing HallwayCon, which is probably fine, then now's the chance to one last chance that you can ask questions from the presenters. They will summarize what they were talking about, what were the main questions during their talk, what were the discussion focused on mostly. I said we're gonna go in chronological order as they were, but it's kind of a lot of time to do that, and also, like, I mean, go over the speakers, and also some of our speakers had to leave, so and afterwards you can just come as you wish. Some of them will have presentations in slide format. Some of them will just come up and do a talk. So yeah, no, let's start with you.
Hello, everyone. I did make a talk about how to build awareness by employee. One of the things that I said that we need to do it at work because private no one's want to look. It's also most of the time too complicated, too tech, so they are not interesting or they lose interesting about after 2 minutes looking about that. So if you go to work, they need to know that companies also most of the time more better target than themselves, because at the company or at hospital there are a lot of people who work there, they are clients or patients, so that's the reason the criminal will go earlier to the hospital than look one by one person. The training was more instruction for ECT or IT department or security department. 3 steps, 3 goals. In the first 2 steps you make them interesting, and how you make them interesting and willing to learn is to show them. For sure in the West Europe we all have on the side of our company the link with my work where all our data. When I talk to the colleagues or to some people, they were always like, what? They never thought about that, and they were like, oh yes, that is true. So that way you make them really interesting to hear it. Then in second part of the training, you try to explain them what happened with their data. And then how you will make it, I led to the security department because they know the audience and every company is a little bit different, so they can make their training based on that. And the third part is a workshop. In that part you can make different groups and work with the people. Why I tell that workshop? Because you make contact with people. They know who you are. They saw you. It's not just some name or some imaginary nerd from the IT department. So they will know who you are and they can ask you. What they don't understand, they can ask you. Another tip what I said is that keep simple. So don't go too much tech because they don't understand. So you will lose them in the 2 minutes. They are afraid that they need to know everything what you explain to them. They think I must know that. So they will stop thinking and they will say, I will never learn that. So I quit. So keep it simple. And if someone wants to know more, they will ask you. So look your audience with who you talk and go with that. And if you want to explain something more, ask them. Do you want to know something more? Well, okay, then you go further. So in that time you can go and talk about different topics with them that are important for the company or hospital where you are, and that. After my talk, we had a nice discussion, and I was really surprised, and thank you that you did make it, David, because I did hear a lot of nice ideas. Some were more like talking with the people, but some were also about the rules. And also I did say that the rules, when people understand why they need to protect them, then they will accept all the rules without questioning so much. Because it's same like when you come to the hospital and when you are sick and you don't feel good, you follow orders of the nurse or for the doctor. You don't ask why and explain. When you don't feel good, you follow them, and then sometimes you ask how and what, but most of the time, most people just follow the rules or follow the instruction of the nurse. Same way you can instruct another people who are not that tech like you. Few ideas that I did like were, like someone said, then if some people are bad, am I really finished? Oh. If some people are bad, like David did try to be bad guy, it was really simple. When they make problems after you train them and after you explain them, then you talk 1 or 2 times and then sorry, you get fired. Because the company, if you make your mistake because you don't care, company will pay the, how you call it, boete? Yes, that. or you will have, a company will have problem, because if someone break the chair or break things in a company, you can do it 1 time, 2nd time you're fired. Another idea were like also talking about your family. So people who have a children or family, they will like also to protect themselves. So you can mix both of them. Also, some kind of gamification that you can see and try people to hack each other. What I had one time was like, go to Google and search about each other, information, and see what you can find. And some people are most of the time surprised what they can find about another, or what can be found about themselves on internet. Some of them like in Mid-East, Maxim said, it was like, if you make some mistake, okay, your account is locked. So, okay.
But that was pretty good summary. Anyone has a question to Jelena for the audience? Okay, great. So, thank you. Up next, Remy, can you please sum up your presentation?
So hello, my talk was about hunting malware and reversing with a chatbot. So I start the project by installing some honeypot everywhere in the internet, and I start by catching malware with my thanks to my honeypot, and it was really boring to follow all the log of the honeypot and reversing all the malware. So I wanted to automate this boring task, and for this use Radar 2. So it's a reverse engineering platform, really useful, really powerful. And I recommend it if you want to start to analyze some sample, and you can make exploit with that. And so yeah, it's really nice. And I have used a Python script. You can make script with Python with Radar. There is a plugin for that. It's called R2Pipe. And the goal of this script is to reverse the malware and give retrieve the command and control of the malware. Most of the time, the command and control was encrypted inside the malware. And after that, launch always the same script becomes boring. So I search another way to more automatize the process. So like all people, most of my time I pass to talk with my friend on the chat, on internet chat, and we use Telegram. So I find a bot called AirBot, and this bot is compatible with a lot of chat protocol like Telegram, IRC, HipHat, and Slack, and whatever. And we create a bot on Telegram and use this AirBot to control all the honeypot. The bot read all the drop site, catch all the malware come from the drop site to my honeypot, and aggregate all the log into the website, and you can follow the new sample when it's coming into the Telegram chat. And you can reverse directly the malware from the Telegram chat. So yeah, it's quite useful, and you can make some reversing very powerful and really quickly. And normally to make a reversing you need a laptop. In the case, it's not the good one. It's not only one. You can make reversing with your phone. So that's pretty cool. So So yeah, I have received a lot of feedback about my bot, and some people could find things this idea was cool. So I'm happy to know that. So yeah, that's all from my side. So I don't know if we have some questions.
Any questions? All right. Thank you, Amidan. Okay, next, Klaus, for example, can you come?
So I talked about small to medium business security. I worked for some years for a small bank, trying to build security starting from very little and then slowly over the years moving up. And I talked about the reasons doing security for small companies is hard because they don't have skills, they don't have time, they don't have the people. We then moved on to a security framework that I built with more than 200 controls that any small to medium business can implement if only they have, say, one IT person, which of course some don't. But these controls can be implemented without much in the way of budgets, much in the way of skills, and much in the way of time. It's efficient. It's something that every SMB can do. So I put that out on the internet. And the goal then is for SMBs to find it and for the community to tell SMBs about it, because all it takes for one SMB to start improving their level of security is one security champion within the company. It doesn't need to be in IT, it doesn't need to be in security. Just one champion wants to make a change and make things better, and they can start improving. And then we talked about how once you have started doing security in SMB, you actually have strategic and tactical advantages over big companies because you're flexible and adaptable and you can make quick decisions. That was my talk. We also had a lot of discussion afterwards on different ideas. Are you going to put the slides on the website? I'll send you the slides. Right. You can find the slides on the BSides website. You can also find the framework called Minimum Viable Security by searching online or going to Peerlist and searching on Peerlist. It's on Peerlist. So there it is. And I hope you will help spread the word because, as we discussed in the comments after the talk, SMBs that do get hit, either with a breach or with ransomware, they often go out of business, especially if they're really small. It really hurts them hard to get hacked or encrypted. So they need this. Any questions? Yes, sure. One control that I find really, really useful is to use either EMET or Malwarebytes anti-exploit to block exploits. It's rather simple. For EMET, you will need to create various profiles based on what users do in the jobs because it has certain crashes here and there. But these two tools just block so much attack surface for you. EMET is not going to be end of life. EMET is incorporated into Windows 10, which no one has anyway, and it still works fine for Windows 7, which people have, so don't worry. Yeah, but you want to pay the small fee that it is for the administration console so you can manage it centrally. It's not expensive. That was my talk. Next.
Apostolos? Yeah, so there was one question. Wait. You're running away. There was one question.
What license did you put your? What is the license you put your framework out? Your framework article. What is its license?
There is no license. Is it LGPL or? No, just use it. No license terms.
I would say then it's BSD, no? Because that's the most widest, I guess. No, if I'm not mistaken, that's BSD license. Okay, cool. Thanks again. Okay, yeah, yeah. You're ready, Apostolos? Okay.
Thank you. Hi everyone again. So my talk was about, it was a bit more technical. It was about an attack that is common in object-oriented languages. Either it's Java, Python, .NET. It's called deserialization. I demonstrated the attack. I demonstrated the popularity of the attack. It's used in many other protocols. The serialization is used in many protocols. It's used by countless of vendors, and every vendor that tried to use that protocol, the serialization protocol, failed because there are some secrets of the serialization process that they were not aware of. They became public very recently, like a few years ago, 2 years ago, and suddenly all these vendors were found to be vulnerable. And it's a very reliable attack, easy to exploit, and it affects all software layers, not just the application layer, frameworks, libraries, application servers, even the Java platform itself, the runtime. So, for example, Oracle released an update for the Java platform 2 days ago. It contains 4 vulnerabilities in serialization. 3 months ago, another 4 vulnerabilities in the Java platform. It's also in the new OWASP top 10 that will be released tomorrow, actually. So this is really quick. The process, you serialize an object that lives in memory and you deserialize it back again to another computer. The deserialization process is the problematic. How to solve the problem? Stop using deserialization. Stop using that technique. However, it's not possible. You do not control all layers of software that run on your platform, or even legacy. You don't control that. So you have to patch. However, patching, it was obvious that from many talks here today, patching can break your application. The Oracle update that was released 2 days ago, it's not backwards compatible. So you want to solve your problem, your vulnerabilities, but it might break your application. So it's not easy to patch. So how do you stop the vulnerability? You can use any of these 3 approaches. And what I did in my presentation is I highlighted the limitations of every one of these approaches. The first 2 actually. The security manager is broken, can be bypassed. It has been bypassed, it's not reliable. And then what's left? Actually, let me show you. No. What's left? You have to do filtering, some kind of filtering, like whitelist, blacklist. You have to allow specific classes to be deserialized or specific classes not to be deserialized. But this is not easy to do. It doesn't scale. It's not enterprise scale. It's human. It requires human intervention. It's error prone, and it doesn't protect you. Yeah, that's fine. And then I discussed about the instrumentation agents, which are a very popular way to perform filtering, but they have a fundamental problem. Instrumentation agents live in the same address space as the application. And this means if the application is compromised, the agent is compromised. So they're not reliable. They shouldn't be used, in my opinion. They're inappropriate for cloud environments. Every business shifts to the cloud, so they have this problem. So there's a different solution. I propose a different solution. Using virtualization, let's virtualize the runtime platform itself. And by doing that, we move the security controls from the application space to the hypervisor. And when the security control is outside of the application space, no matter what application vulnerability exists, it cannot affect the security control anymore. So your security control, the module, the component that makes you secure, is secure, is isolated. It's in a privileged space that cannot be touched by the application. And then I introduced this technique, the micro compartmentalization and privilege de-escalation, that minimizes the privileges during deserialization. So it avoids this privilege escalation and API abuse that is the effect of the deserialization attack. So that was my talk. Key takeaways, in my opinion, you shouldn't be using instrumentation agents for security. The instrumentation API wasn't designed for that. And you should think about other alternatives. There is a technology right now that is high-end technology. We keep investing. It's called RASP, runtime self-protection, application self-protection. You should Google about it, learn more about it. And that was the end of my talk. And then we had a few questions. One question about WAFs, I think, from a very clever guy. So web application firewalls. Web application firewalls, can they mitigate this attack? Well, I wouldn't say so. They can mitigate it up to a point. Yeah, just finishing that argument. Web application firewalls have to do, again, filtering, blacklisting, whitelisting, and it's even worse because they have to do it outside of the context of the application. So they see the stream, the input that comes to the application, and they have to make a decision, should I allow that request or not? And it's a silly way of doing it. They depend on signatures and pattern matching. This is a way, for example, to fool a web application firewall. You create a stream as easy as that, and they think this is an attack, which obviously this is benign, doesn't do any harm, but you can fool them really easily. So you have false positives in web application firewalls, and you depend on signatures. You have to update your signatures again and again. It's not future-proof. So that was my talk. Thank you. Yeah, any questions? Great, thank you.
Next is going to be Didier.
Hello, I'm Didier, work for Enviso, and we did a workshop on malicious Office documents. So why talk and do a workshop about malicious Office documents? Well, it's because we're talking about malware. And malware is often executables, Windows executables, but the authors, malware authors, they want to deliver it. And you know, delivering executables via email in a lot of organizations no longer works. A PE file, an executable, you cannot mail it. Even with Gmail, if you try to put it in a zip file, it will recognize it and block it. Okay? So that in most of the cases, that no longer works. So what they are doing now for several years now is putting the malware into documents like Office documents or PDF files. And that's what we did in the workshop. We learned how to recognize such files and how to analyze what they do statically. So that was the workshop. Now, why did I talk about that? Because I make open source tools to analyze such documents. For example, Office documents, that you don't need Microsoft Office to be able to analyze such documents. But for example, that you can just use Python on any operating system that runs Python, and then you can use my tools to analyze such documents. And that is what we did in the workshop. There were 3 types of exercises. So I brought about 30 different exercises that step by step will introduce you into the file format of Office and how to analyze such files and extract the malicious code with my tools. Many attendees of the workshop did that. Then you had also a couple of people who had brought their own malware, because that was the topic of the workshop, bring your own malware. And for example, with my tools, an attendee was able to analyze one malicious document that he received recently. It was a doc file, so a Word document, which contained macros, VBA macros, and it contains a lot of levels of indirection, because you have the VBA macros. There inside you have something base64 and base64 encoded. That turned out to be PowerShell, which was in turn also obfuscated. It was deobfuscated. We had another layer of PowerShell, and that PowerShell was a downloader. I would download something from the internet, write it to disk, and execute it. Another sample that was brought, somebody was an RTF file, a rich text format file. And we were able to see indeed that it was an RTF file and that it contained JavaScript, which looked malicious. So that was already quickly established that we were dealing with something malicious. And then we had to deobfuscate the JavaScript, but that was not something we could do by the end of the workshop. So that's something that has to be continued. And then the third thing that I brought for people who did not bring their own malware and who were not really interested in the simple exercises, a bit of a proof of concept. Maybe if you heard about it about 2 weeks ago, a new type of attack with DDE, a dynamic data exchange. Now it's not new, it's an old technology, but it has been used again. So DDE, dynamic data exchange, one of the features of this technology allows you to execute code without having to use macros. Okay? So, and I brought 2 examples of this. If you want more information, I posted a blog post about it. And here is an example of the analysis with the Jara file. You analyze the document, and here you can see what is launched. You see that calculator is launched. So you know it's a proof of concept. And then also, you see CalcExe. On Windows 10, you actually no longer have CalcExe. It has become an app. It's no longer exe. Okay. So that was the workshop. We were to do some exercises and successfully reverse one malware that was brought. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. To continue with the summaries, George, can you come, please? Oh, yeah. Okay. Do the setup. But if you have to mess with your resolution again, then you have to just go without the Prezi. Max. Notoriously bad with resolution and projectors. Nice, nice. He learns.
Yeah. Okay. Does this work? Okay. So my talk was about how you can use AppArmor to immunize web services to their own unknown and known vulnerabilities, maybe in third parties, maybe in your application itself, by basically defining a profile for them. That means like a set of system calls that they can do. And I brought kind of like a case study, let's say, of an incident response. Sorry, I probably should have moved from here. So where basically we were using FFmpeg to convert some video files, and a bug bounty researcher found a vulnerability in that particular version of FFmpeg. And actually the quick solution was for us then to confine FFmpeg with AppArmor instead of immediately patching it. Of course, later on we patched it, and we came up with an AppArmor profile, which basically successfully mitigated the attack, which could have been exploited to read some local files, arbitrary local files, on the EC2 nodes that were running this service. I think one of the it would take shit tons of time now because I already removed this IP from the security group and stuff like that. So yeah, but actually no, sorry. But you could just for those who weren't here, I did a demo of the exploitation itself, and it was basically a video converted by FFmpeg that contained the contents of the etc password file as a demonstration. Anyhow, we came up with this profile, and I think there was a really good point made here that the mitigation did not only depend on on AppArmor itself, but on the fact as well that these files were not easily guessable. So this is why you could not still read someone else's uploaded video file. And I think it was a really good point that AppArmor does not speak on that level, right? That's already application level. Who uploaded that video file to our system? AppArmor only speaks system calls and files and sockets and stuff like that. So I think that was kind of a pretty good point that we also got a bit lucky there that we already had that part good. Then I talked a bit about how this could be taken further, not only confining FFmpeg, but the entire web service itself, since that's already your attack interface normally, so there could be vulnerabilities anywhere else. And then I tried to show what kind of tooling we built around monitoring this whole thing and making it more usable, more visible, and just easier to use and manage for us and for the developers as well. And I think this was kind of one of the key messages that AppArmor is a good tool, and you can use it to confine your web services, but it's only as good as your profiles. It's definitely something that you have to maintain and you have to continuously care about, and you need all this kind of tooling around it. And of course, and this is the question we do not have a good answer for, and I would be really happy to talk with anybody if you have some input on that. So the question is, how does it scale? I mean, we already do this for a couple of processes, but we have no idea how, even with all this tooling, all this monitoring around it, how does it scale massively with a lot of services. But we are kind of already on the path to figure it out, but if anybody has some input on that, then that would be awesome. So that was my talk. Yeah, any questions? Sorry. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Shema, can you come next?
Hi, my name is Chema Garcia, and we had a workshop about data forensic and incident response. The topic was bring your own AVTX files, which you know is the Microsoft security event, in which I presented a tool I wrote some months ago that will let you to save a lot of time during the incident response handling and the forensic analysis. The tool itself will let you to visualize all the relations between the users, computers, and domains, which user is logging into a given computer at a given daytime. And finally, we have been discussing about another tool focused on how to create some kind of IOCs or Jara rules in the same event files. I think we all enjoyed the workshop. I really proud to be here. And if there is any questions, let me know. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yorish, can you come next?
Yes, I can. I'll just keep it short because I'm one of the last and I'm in between the weekend and you guys. So we talked about SAP and how hard it is to patch SAP systems and how much work it is because it all needs to be done manually. So I introduced like some tooling that we used and developed with a customer to automate things and apply patches in a more automated way, which saves money, time, and you can raise the frequency of applying patches. We had a short discussion afterwards and I got some good feedback. That's it in short. I don't want to make it any longer. If there's any questions, feel free to shout. Otherwise, thanks.
Thank you. And last but not least, you gonna do slides or? Okay. So Renaud.
So my talk was about HTTPS implementations. We had a look about the different headers. Like, I will not explain all of them, but HSTS, it's a very interesting header to force the browsers to always connect to your website in HTTPS. We had a look about the risk and threats about HTTP connections and websites. Then we had also a look about other headers like HPKP, which is quite questionable if you want to implement or not. OSP stapling. So your browsers needs to connect to verify the validity of the server certificates, and also OSP stapling is able to speed the process. And another interesting, not related to HTTP, but to DNS, DNSCA, which is whitelisting the certification authority that are authorized to generate certificate for your domain. Any question? Okay, thank you. Wish you a good weekend.